As someone who has worn a lot of love blinders and survived a lot of toxic guys, oh my, I just had to make this episode. Hi, I'm Christine, and this is the X Life Podcast. Let's chat. So, I don't know about you, but I've definitely worn the love blinders at times and overlooked some situations and behaviors that didn't quite sit right. So, I'll give you some examples. Number one, so years ago, I was out with the guy I was dating at the time, and we were just out with some friends having a good time, and I ordered a drink, and the drink came, and he was kind of sharing it with me. I really wasn't drinking that much of it, but he actually was, and I mean, I didn't really mind because I was talking to my friends, but at one point or another, like, I looked down and most of it was gone, and I said something to him, and he was like, "What are you talking about? You drank all that." And it kind of took me aback because I was like, I mean, I know what I did and what I see, so why is this happening? Like, I was being told, like, no, you're wrong. This is what happened, but I knew what actually happened. So that, was definitely a flag for me. And I mean, I've actually had friends also, similar type of situation where they've dressed up to go out, they feel good about themselves, they come out, they're like expecting like a flattering comment, but then they hear like, "Oh, you're wearing that," and then that like totally destroys the confidence that you had walking out of that room. So that's another way I feel like it's a toxic behavior with guys kind of bringing you down or chopping you down a little bit. So, or like making you second guess yourself. So the question is, are they making you feel insecure or unsure of yourself? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Because every relationship is different. But are there things that are making you feel that way? I mean, are you forgetting things? Or are your eyes deceiving you? Or, I mean, are you crazy here? I doubt it. But I think it's concerning if you bring it up and they say, like, I never said that. When you distinctly, I don't know about you, but if something hurts my feelings, I remember. I remember word for word. So another example. Okay. So a friend of mine was with this guy for quite a while, and whenever she went down the driveway to the mailbox, there was always this question like, what took you so long? What were you doing? And literally, you're gone a couple of minutes. Or if she happened to take her phone, well, why did you take your phone with you? So that type of behavior to me, I don't know. But that's a question, And then there would also, along the same lines, if she ever had a male friend come up and say hello to her, it was, who was that? It was always a question. And I think the question that we should all be asking ourselves is, what is behind the question? Like, why are they asking these things? I mean, is there a trust issue? If it were me, then yes, I would think it would be a trust issue. And speaking of trust, have you ever been with a guy who seems to feel like he's living a secret life? Like one that you're not in. Like he has his phone all the time. His phone is always locked. You don't know the code. Or he's kind of liking a lot of girls' posts all the time. And that's making you feel uneasy. Are you not allowed to look at his mail? Is he real protective over that? And these days, it could be like email. Are there little lies that seem like no big deal, but then they just add up? And you start to be, you're starting to like notice, and you're starting to keep a list in your head. And then there's like, sometimes what if they're looking at other women a little bit too long? And again, you maybe like brush it off at first, but then you notice it's more of a frequent occurrence. So then there's the, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I'll get help guy. And this is the one that is abusing you in some form or fashion. It could be mentally, it could be physically, it could be emotionally, or all three. And I think a lot of times, something happens and you kind of brush it off. Oh, he apologized. It was a one-off, no big deal. But then there starts to be maybe a pattern. And are you asking yourself if legitimately this was one time and if they're really sorry? Or is it now becoming something more serious and do they need help? So lastly, this is a situation where you feel like you're walking on eggshells. And every time I write this, I feel like walking on sunshine. Walking on sun. Okay, anyway. You and your partner just can't seem to communicate without ending up in a fight. Like little things, little questions, discussions just always seem to turn into a he said, she said situation. It's an argument, and then both sides are just trying to win. And maybe it's a vicious cycle where this just keeps happening. Like you're always in this argument. You end up apologizing to make peace. He strangely doesn't apologize. And then, have you guys thought about what is underneath the surface that is causing this? And is it both of you or one of you? And I know I've definitely been there. This is probably the situation I've experienced the most. And what kept me in the relationship was that there were so many fun times. There were so many good times. But I realized that it was when we weren't getting deep. We weren't addressing the issues that we should have addressed. And so when everything was light and fun, it was nice and peaceful. But then if we ever got slightly serious, that's when the arguments happened. When someone refuses to talk and you can't figure things out, it can get really confusing. You feel like it's hot and cold all the time. I mean, have you ever been there? So these are the things that you really need to think about and not just sweep under the rug. Everyone is different in what is acceptable and tolerable to them, but taking a pause to really consider any red flags is worth your time. This podcast will help you go deeper so you can untangle messes like these and stop questioning your own thoughts.